All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive.
Glad to be back.
So today we are taking a look at some technical attack techniques.
That's right.
We're going to be going through all kinds of, some of the things that are outlined in the source material.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Which is really interesting stuff, by the way.
Fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
We're not just going to, talk about the techniques themselves, but also like what you can do about it.
Yeah.
So,
which is always the most important part, right?
Absolutely.
It's interesting to know, how these things work, but
right.
What I really want to know is how to keep myself safe.
Exactly.
So first up, we've got these things called rootkits.
Oh,
Rootkits.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds kind of scary. I don't know, some kind of...
It sounds like a gardening tool.
Like a gardening tool. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Some kind of medieval torture device.
Right. Yeah. But
no, in the cybersecurity world, it's actually much sneakier than that.
You know how you have a key to your house?
Yeah.
And it's the only way to get in.
Right.
Well, imagine someone makes a copy of your key, right?
Okay.
And they can get in and out whenever they want, and you have no idea.
Oh.
That's kind of what a rootkit is like.
So they can come and go as they please.
They can come and go as they please.
And I have no idea.
And you'd have no clue.
Because it's hidden? They're hidden?
They're very good at hiding themselves.
Oh, okay.
So that's one of the things that makes them so dangerous.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's pretty scary.
It is.
Okay, so speaking of scary brute force attacks, I mean...
Brute force.
This is the classic, right?
It's a classic.
In the movies, they're always
Yeah, they make it look so dramatic, don't they?
Yeah, they're trying to break into the mainframe or whatever.
All right, yeah, flashing red lights and,
It's slamming their,
Yeah, pounding on keyboards.
Pounding on keyboards. And I always thought, is that really a thing?
Well, it is.
It is.
To a degree, yeah.
Okay.
It's not quite as dramatic as the movies make it seem.
Right.
But the basic idea is you just try every single combination possible.
Really?
Until you find the one that works.
Wow.
And you might think, that would take forever, right?
Yeah.
But computers these days are so fast.
That's true.
That they can try millions of combinations per second.
Yeah. No, I've heard those stories.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's crazy how powerful computers are these days.
Okay, so brute force, yeah, that's a real thing.
Real thing.
Okay, well, what can we do? What can we do about it? I mean, obviously, strong passwords and stuff, but...
Strong passwords are key.
Okay.
I mean, that's your first line of defense.
All right.
Make sure it's not something easily guessable,
Right.
Not your pet's name, not your birthday.
Right, none of that stuff.
Yeah, a good mix of characters, upper and lower case, numbers, symbols, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. Make it long.
Make it long.
12 characters, at least.
At least.
Right.
Yeah, the longer the better.
Okay, so longer passwords. That makes sense.
It does.
All right, so what else we got here? Injection attacks.
Injection attacks, now we're getting into some really interesting territory.
Okay, all right, lay it on me.
So think of it like this, okay? You've got your computer system, and it's designed to process information in a very specific way.
Okay.
But what if someone could inject, sneak in their own malicious code disguised as something harmless?
Okay.
That's an injection attack.
And then what happens? What does that code do?
Well, it depends on the attacker's goals.
Okay.
It could be anything from stealing sensitive information to taking control of your entire system.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
It's scary stuff.
That is scary.
It is.
Okay, so how do they actually do it, though? How do they inject the code?
Well, there's a few different ways. But one common method is through something called cross-site scripting, or XSS for short.
XSS, all right.
It sounds complicated.
Yeah.
But it's actually pretty simple in concept. Imagine you're on a website.
Yeah.
And there's a comment section.
Right.
And someone posts a comment that looks harmless.
Right.
But hidden within that comment is a malicious script.
Oh, so you don't even know, you don't even realize.
You don't even realize it.
It's hidden.
It's hidden in plain sight.
Okay, so it's like a Trojan horse.
It's a digital Trojan horse, exactly.
Right.
And when you view that comment, the script executes in your browser.
And that gives them access to my system.
Potentially, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's really important to be careful about the websites you visit.
Okay.
And the links you click on.
Yeah, no, that's good advice.
Yeah.
So XSS, cross-site scripting.
That's the one to watch out for.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And then you've also got SQL injection, right?
Ah, yes. SQL injection, that's another big one.
So this one's a bit more, I don't know, technical, right?
It is a bit more technical.
Okay.
But essentially, it targets databases.
Databases, okay.
Yeah. So most websites and applications these days,
Yeah.
they rely on databases to store information.
Right, right.
And the SQL, that stands for Structured Query Language.
Okay.
It's a way to interact with those databases.
Right.
So with SQL injection,
Yeah.
attackers can manipulate those SQL queries.
What does that mean?
So they can basically send commands to the database
Right.
that it's not supposed to execute.
Okay.
And that can allow them to do all sorts of nasty things.
Like what? Like what kind of nasty things?
Well, they could steal data from the database.
Okay.
They could modify data.
Oh, no.
They could even delete data.
So they can, like, mess everything up?
Oh, yeah, they can wreak havoc.
Really?
Yeah.
So, like, what would that look like in the real world? Like, what kind of damage could they do?
Well, imagine a hacker gets access to a bank's database.
Oh, no.
Through SQL injection,
Yeah.
they could potentially transfer funds from one account to another.
Oh, no.
They could change account balances.
So it's not just about, like, stealing information. They can actually...
Manipulate it.
They can, like, change things?
Change things, delete things. It's pretty scary.
That's really scary.
It is, which is why it's so important for websites and applications to have strong security measures in place.
Right, to prevent this kind of stuff from happening.
Exactly.
Okay, so SQL injection, definitely something to be aware of.
Definitely something to be aware of.
Okay, what about session hijacking? I've heard that term thrown around.
Session hijacking.
Yeah.
Okay, so every time you visit a website,
Yeah.
you establish a session with that website.
Right.
Right? It's like a digital handshake.
Okay.
And that session is identified by a unique ID
Okay.
called a session ID.
So it's like a key.
It's like a key, exactly.
Why?
That proves you are who you say you are and allows you to access the site's resources.
Okay.
But with session hijacking,
Yeah.
an attacker can steal that session ID.
How do they do that?
Well, there are a few ways, but one common method is through something called a man-in-the-middle attack.
Man in the middle.
Yeah, it sounds like something out of a spy movie, right?
It does, yeah.
Basically, the attacker intercepts the communication.
So they're like listening in on the conversation.
They're eavesdropping
Yeah.
between you and the website.
Okay.
And they can steal your session ID without you even knowing it.
Oh, wow. So I have no idea this is happening.
You'd have no idea.
And then what can they do that?
Well, once they have your session ID,
Yeah.
they can impersonate you
Oh, no.
on the website.
So they can, like, log in as me?
They could log in as you.
And do whatever they want?
Pretty much, yeah. It's pretty scary.
That is scary.
So if they hijack your online banking session, for example,
yeah.
they could potentially drain your bank account.
Oh, my God.
It's not good.
That is not good.
So that's why it's important to be aware of session hijacking
Right.
and to take steps to protect yourself.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, one thing you can do is to make sure you're using a secure connection.
Right. HTTPS, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Look for the lock icon in your browser's address bar.
Okay.
That indicates that the connection is encrypted.
Right, so it's more secure.
More secure.
Okay.
And another thing you can do is to log out of websites when you're finished using them,
Yeah, that's a good habit to get into.
especially if you're using a public computer.
Right. Right.
Because if you leave yourself logged in,
yeah.
someone could come along and hijack your session.
Right, right. No, that makes sense.
So those are just a couple of things you can do to protect yourself from session hijacking.
Okay. So, secure connections, log out when you're done. Got it.
Exactly.
Okay. Let's see, what else do we have here? Malformed URL attacks? Is that a thing?
Oh yeah, malformed URL attacks, those are definitely a thing. And they can be pretty sneaky.
So what is a malformed URL?
What URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator.
Right.
It's basically the address of a website.
Okay.
So a malformed URL is one that's been deliberately crafted
Yeah.
to trick either a user or a system into doing something
Oh, okay.
that it's not supposed to do.
Okay. So it's like a track.
It's a trap
Okay.
hidden in the address bar.
So what would be an example of that? Like how would they trick me?
Well, let's say you get an email
Okay.
and it has a link in it,
Yeah.
and that link looks like it's going to your bank's website.
Right.
But if you look closely at the URL,
Yeah.
you might notice that it's slightly different
Okay.
than the real URL.
Right.
It might have a misspelling,
Okay.
or it might use a different domain name,
Okay.
something like that.
Right. So it looks legit.
It looks legit, but it's not.
Okay.
And if you click on that link,
Yeah.
it could take you to a fake website that's designed to steal your login credentials.
Oh, no.
Or it could download malware onto your computer.
So it's like phishing, but with URLs?
It's very much like phishing.
Yeah. Okay.
It's all about tricking you into giving up sensitive information.
Yeah. Right. Right. So how do we protect ourselves from that?
Well, the best defense is to be vigilant.
Okay.
Pay close attention to URLs before you click on them.
Okay. So don't just blindly click on links.
Don't just blindly click on links.
Okay.
Take a moment to examine them.
Right.
Make sure they're legitimate.
Okay.
And if you're ever unsure, it's always best to err on the side of caution.
Don't click it.
Don't click it.
Okay, good advice.
Good advice.
All right. Last but not least, buffer overflow.
Ah, yes. Buffer overflow, the classic.
This one always sounded, I don't know, kind of complicated to me.
It is a bit technical.
Okay.
But I'll try to explain it in a way that makes sense.
Okay, please.
So, you know how computers use memory to store data, right?
Yeah.
Well, a buffer is basically a reserved area of memory.
Okay.
That's used to temporarily store data.
Right.
While a program is running.
Okay.
Now, with a buffer overflow attack,
yeah,
an attacker can exploit a vulnerability in a program to write more data into a buffer than it's designed to hold.
Okay.
So it's like trying to fit 10 gallons of water into a 5-gallon bucket.
Okay, it's going to overflow.
It's going to overflow.
Right.
And when that happens, it can cause all sorts of problems.
Okay, like what?
Well, the program might crash.
Right.
Might freeze.
Okay.
It might even become unresponsive.
Okay.
But in some cases, a buffer overflow can actually allow an attacker to execute their own code.
No way.
On the system.
Really?
Yeah.
So they can, like, take control.
They can potentially take control.
Oh, wow. That's really scary.
It is scary.
So it's like they're breaking the system from the inside out.
They're basically overflowing the memory and causing it to malfunction.
Right, right.
In a way that benefits them.
Okay, so how do we protect ourselves from that?
Well, one important thing is to keep your software up to date.
Okay, so updates are important.
Updates are very important.
Oh, yeah.
Because software vendors, they're constantly releasing patches to fix vulnerabilities.
Okay, so when you see that update, don't ignore it.
Don't ignore it.
Okay.
Install it.
Okay, good advice.
Because it could be the thing that protects you from a buffer overflow attack.
Right, right. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so buffer overflow updates. Got it.
Got it.
Okay. Okay, well, I think that covers pretty much everything.
I think so, yeah. We've covered a lot of ground today.
We did. We covered rootkits.
Rootkits.
Brute force.
Brute force.
Injection attacks. Session hijacking. Malformed URLs. Buffer overflow.
Malformed URLs.
Man, it's amazing how many ways there are to attack a system.
It is. It's a constant arms race.
It is.
Between the attackers and the defenders.
Right.
You know.
And it just keeps evolving.
Evolving.
So we've got to keep up.
We've got to stay one step ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, the good news is that there are ways to protect ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
Like we talked about strong passwords.
Strong passwords.
Being careful about the links we click on.
Very important.
Keeping our software up to date.
Critical.
What else can we do?
Well, I think one of the most important things is just to be aware.
Okay.
To stay informed about the latest threats.
Right.
Because the threat landscape is constantly changing.
It is. It's always changing.
Yeah.
So, you know, what might have worked 5 years ago might not work today.
Exactly.
So it's important to stay up to date.
Stay informed. Read articles, listen to podcasts.
Like this one.
Like this one, exactly.
There you go.
You know, just be aware of what's out there.
Right.
And what the risks are.
Yeah, because knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
Right, so the more you know,
the better equipped you are.
To protect yourself.
To protect yourself, exactly.
Okay, well, on that note, I think we'll wrap things up here.
Sounds good.
But for all of you listening out there, stay safe.
Stay safe out there.
And remember, knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
All right, we'll see you next time.